Let's get on with the set of sessions which were held today in Washington at the World Bank IMF Spring meetings that focused on the state of Africa's energy access, innovations, and how to improve lives on the continent, raising issues around where the world, raising some of these issues today were the World Bank President Ajay Banga and, of course, the President of the World Bank, Dr. Akumi Adesina, in this panel chat, which was moderated by Shabalala. Let's take an excerpt from that for you.
I think electricity is a human right. I think electricity is the basis by which people can get access to health, people can get access to education, people can get access to the ability to innovate and manufacture and build productivity. If you don't have education, you don't have health, you don't have productivity, you don't have jobs, there is no solution to poverty and growth and development. And so to me, getting electricity to people is mission 1, 2, and 3. I grew up in India. I saw the change in my own country where I grew up with the increasing access to electricity. I saw it in my own childhood. And so I'm aware of this directly in my own experiences. And so all I can say is think about this as the important human right, which allows us to build jobs and capabilities in Africa. And I'll end with one little comment here. I believe that the future of Africa, with jobs for young people, depends on 5 big areas. And Akin and I talked about this in my first visit with him. So he will probably echo this with more passion than me. But the first one is energy. You know, if you start creating distribution and generation and transmission and all those jobs, but then the downstream impact of that electricity. Second, infrastructure, houses, bridges, ports, airports. Third is agribusiness and food security. That's a big part of what could generate business jobs. Fourth is tourism. Africa is really, really fortunate to be a great opportunity for tourism and tourism jobs. Already a number of African countries are doing so pretty well. The final one is healthcare.
Right.
You will hear us in the course of this spring meeting talk a great deal about healthcare as well. So I think about these 5 as enablers, but also as job generators. Point is, without energy, affordable access to energy, nothing is possible.
Ajay, I think it's a really powerful opening, and you've really outlined how energy is the base to all economic development. I particularly love how you describe it as mission 1, 2, and 3. So, Dr. Adesina, let me bring the exact same question to you. How would you frame the opportunity and the challenge, and any reflections on what you've heard Ajay share so far?
Well, thanks very much. First, thank you for coming to Abidjan when Ajay was nominated. And in fact, the first thing that he and I talked about was, look, 3 things Ajay and I will agree to do. First is let's just solve Africa's energy problem.
Right.
And second is let's make sure Africa can feed itself. Of course, to do that, you also need energy to be able to power industries and value addition and all of that. And the third one is just to make sure that we create jobs. And you can't create jobs if you don't have energy running an economy. Look, energy is like blood inside of your body, right? You got blood, you live. Economies thrive on energy, right? It's a direct correlation between the GDP growth you're going to have with the amount of energy you are able to develop, to generate. Whether it's you're going to power your industries, you're going to make sure you're competitive. So no economy can grow in the dark. No economy can industrialize in the dark.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and no economy can be competitive in the dark.
Sure.
And so Africa is pretty much, in my view, tired of being in the dark, and at the same time, we've made, Ajay, I kind of think that we've made it abnormal, so normal that we are used to it. When I was a grad student at Purdue University, I got in there in 1983, and I remember coming out of Nigeria where we didn't have electricity, and I got to Purdue University. I was staying with a couple, there who signed up to receive grad students. So I stayed in their home for about a few days. And I got out my suitcase, and I got all my clothes out, and I started ironing them.
Yeah.
And after that, the wife of the professor said, Akin, what are you doing? You've been at it for 1 hour. I said, just because they might take the electricity out. And she said, not in the United States, but where I was coming from, we had gotten used to that. So what I'm saying is, getting universal access to electricity in Africa is fundamental. I agree with RJ, it's a fundamental human right. But more than anything else, it's also a sense of pride.
Right.
I don't want to have a continent that is known for being in darkness. And that's why I'm determined that we are going to solve this problem.
Dr. Adesina, you have spoken about energy being the blood that keeps an economy alive. You've spoken it about no economy grows in the dark, no economy becomes competitive in the dark, but also how do we ensure that we reclaim our pride and ensure that we don't normalize that which is abnormal? It's a big ask, Ajay. Listening to what you're saying, listening to what Dr. Adesina is saying, how are we going to do it is the question that I want to put to you. And in particular, what needs to be true for the World Bank as an institution to be part of the solution and making sure that we can change this narrative?
So, I mean, look, I think we've all admired the problem for long enough. This thing of 600 million people being without power is not new news. And it's just that he mentioned it to me on my first trip, but it wasn't new news to him or to me. I just didn't know the number was 600 million.
Yeah.
That part I got educated when I went to meet him. But I will tell you that we need to move past admiring the problem to making tangible results possible. And what you will hear from both of us today is a commitment. And that commitment, back in COP28, the World Bank made a commitment to connect 100 million Africans to affordable energy by 2030. So 6 years or so. What we are doing today is multiplying that commitment by bringing in all parts of the bank across all parts of Africa and really thinking how we can make this work. We're going to multiply that commitment to 250 million people out of that 600. Akin is already ready to go to 50, but Akin is a guy who dreams big. So his head is going beyond the 50, but he's starting with the 50. Just let's take that 50 for a minute. Let's keep us where we are today. 250, 50,
Yep.
300 million. If we can reach 300 out of 600 by 2030, that's great stuff.